Este programa tem o patrocínio de Seabra Foods.
Boa noite, bem-vindos ao especial Eleições. Hoje em estúdio temos os 4 candidatos a vereador do bairro Leste. Michael da Silva, Jonathan Seabra, Anthony Campos e Luís Weber. Aos 4, desde já o nosso agradecimento pela disponibilidade de estarem nos nossos estúdios.
Portanto, já sabem que este é o primeiro de 2 debates e onde serão discutidos 5 temas. Qualidade de vida, MX3 ou MX3, fundo da HES, impostos prediais e estacionamento e handicap spaces.
As regras deste debate serão simples. Cada candidato terá 2 minutos para responder a cada pergunta. As perguntas serão feitas de modo rotativo, da esquerda para a direita. Serão feitas em inglês e depois em português. Os candidatos responderão em inglês.
No final das 5 perguntas que vamos fazer, será colocada uma questão aos 4 candidatos por um residente ou empresário da comunidade portuguesa do Ironbound.
E vamos imediatamente começar. The first one to answer the first question, o primeiro candidato a responder, será Michael da Silva.
Boa noite a todos. Queria agradecer ao Luís e ao Ricky por estar aqui, esta oportunidade por estar aqui hoje neste dia. Não posso responder em português, vou responder tudo em inglês.
Michael, just one moment, please. We're going to read the questions in English, then in Portuguese, then you can answer, all right?
Okay.
In the Ironbound, the poor quality of life is evident. Garbage on the streets, a polluted river, a garbage treatment center, a congested industrial area, and chaotic traffic. Meanwhile, there are talks about new sewage treatment plants, new industries to transform toxic waste. If you become councilman, what can residents expect from you regarding the quality of life issues?
No Ironbound, a problemática da qualidade de vida é evidente. Temos lixo nas ruas, um rio poluído, uma central de lixo, uma zona industrial congestionada e um trânsito impróprio para cardíacos. Entretanto, fala-se em novas estações de tratamento de esgotos, fala-se em novas indústrias de transformação de resíduos tóxicos. Se for eleito vereador, o que podemos esperar de si? E neste momento eu gostaria de passar a pergunta ao Michael da Silva.
Uma das maiores preocupações no Ironbound é a qualidade de vida. No entanto, é importante referir e a pergunta é importante, na medida em que ficamos aqui sem esta informação, o lixo nas ruas, um rio poluído, uma central de lixo, uma zona industrial congestionada e um trânsito impróprio para cardíacos, como já sabem. Portanto, entretanto, fala-se em novas estações de tratamento de esgotos, fala-se em novas indústrias de transformação de resíduos tóxicos. Se for eleito vereador, Michael, o que podemos esperar de si?
Boa noite a todos. Vou responder em inglês. O Ironbound has always been a dumping ground for the entire city. It's a place where factories are built, garbage dumps, and the community never has any input or never any say. It's important that we, as a community, have a say in what goes on in our ward. Environmental justice. This is a very important issue of mine. I take this one very personally. I'm a cancer survivor. I went through hell back in 2014. I suffered. My family suffered. I don't think anybody should ever go through what I went through and my family went through. Municipal services. The services that we receive in this ward are very unacceptable. Our garbage collection, our street cleaning, our snow removal. For the amount of taxes that we pay, we deserve a lot better. I'm going to have in my little city hall a person, an aide, designated just to help the community, just to make sure if the resident has any complaint regarding any type of municipal service, whether it's street cleaning, whether it's garbage, whether it's snow removal, that complaint will be addressed from beginning till the end with that resident. We need to hold City Hall more accountable because I think there's a lack of respect for the East Ward in our community.
Thank you, Michael. Foi a resposta de Michael da Silva. vamos neste momento passar a palavra a Jonathan Seabra, só um pequeno momento, enquanto ajustamos o telefone. Vamos então a Jonathan Seabra.
Elected officials in the state's largest city have largely supported the implementation of the MX3, residential and commercial zone, which allows in part for buildings as high as 145 feet tall.
Temos exatamente que responder.
Temos que responder.
Caso será o Jonathan.
É o Jonathan que vai seguir.
A segunda apresentação. Sim. Então, Jonathan, vamos responder, portanto, à primeira questão que foi colocada.
À primeira questão que foi colocada.
Posso começar?
Podes começar, força.
Olha, muito boa noite, muito obrigado SPT, muito obrigado Rico Durais e Sr. Luís Pires por ter aqui este debate hoje para apresentar a minha candidatura à comunidade. Estou a concorrer novamente para o Conselho, para o bairro do Leste. Não é a minha primeira vez a concorrer, mas estou a concorrer de novo.
Sorry, Jonathan, I need to stop you. We agreed that it will be on English.
Oh, just the opening statement? Okay. Muito boa noite. Obrigado, SPT. Obrigado, Ricky Durais. Obrigado, Sr. Luís Pires, por ter este debate hoje aqui no SPT. I am sorry in advance to the Portuguese-speaking individuals on the SPT channel today. I will be speaking all in English. Quality of life is an issue that affects everyone here in the community. If people are not content with the quality of life, people will move. The Ironbound, the East Ward, has been a dumping ground for many, many years here. We here have 3 plants. We burn the trash that comes from New York City that produces toxic chemicals in our air that we breathe, air that is causing asthma amongst children in the community. Every street that you go on, you see potholes everywhere. People drive literally down the street and they have to swerve in and out to avoid breaking their car rim. Why is it that we have constant flooding every time there is a major storm here in our area? It's unacceptable. Our infrastructure is literally deteriorating and no one is doing anything about it. We have trash all over our city. When you enter the city of Newark, the first sight you see is trash everywhere. No one is talking about it. Why is that? Every time we've reached out to address the issue, nothing is being done. We have to be more proactive. We have to have more trash cans. We have to have more street cleaning for our city. Because the reality is that we have a East Ward community that is very transient. Yes, we have constant diesel trucks coming into our community burning fuel. Just yesterday, there was another meeting at 6 p.m. last night for the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission, which they want to bring another incinerator to our community. And I say no to that because our community is not going to be a dumping ground anymore. When I become your next East Ward councilman, I will fight for our community for environmental justice.
Okay. We have 6 seconds yet, so we better just wait for the time to expire. E agora sim. This is the time for Anthony Campos to explain whatever you want to say about this question.
All right, hello and hola. My name's Anthony Campos, and I want to be your next East Ward councilman. There we go, now I'm on camera. Listen, all quality of life issues are interrelated, and so are many of the remedies. The only way to address them is through a holistic approach, but you got to have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the ability, and the wanting to address them. It's about 3 things. It's about respect, it's about responsiveness, and it's about accountability. Respect. The East Ward should not be the dumping ground, no pun intended. We don't get green spaces, we don't get playing fields, and we don't get recreational facilities, but we sure as heck get incinerators and treatment plants. We also get asthma, respiratory diseases, and cancer. But hey, no completion of the Hayes Park East project, Liberty Park, anything else. I will fight for and be a voice against corporate pollution and environmental injustice. I will also facilitate recreation facilities to improve our quality of life. It's one of my biggest priorities, recreation, because they are the future. Responsiveness. Be accessible. Everyone who knows me knows I'm approachable. But to be responsive and accessible, you have to be able to hear people's concerns, so you have to make it easier for them to present those concerns. And you do that through an enhanced little city hall, through town hall meetings, through technology, through committees and coalitions to address them. Accountability, hold people and entities accountable for providing the proper level of service that we pay for and we deserve. I've done all of these things, okay? I've done all these things many times and throughout my entire career, particularly as a law enforcement executive and as the executive running the largest and most complex agency in the city. I have the experience and I have the knowledge. Again, I know how to do it, I want to do it, and as your councilman, I will do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. We're going to go in the little bit immediately for the next candidate. Just give me 1 second. And Louis Weber, please, your answers for quality of life.
Boa noite, good evening. So first and foremost, city services have to be held accountable. I'm a resident here, and it's no secret that city services are lacking in the East Ward and the Ironbound specifically. Under me sitting as councilman, the East Ward liaison will write a daily report keeping track of all quality of life complaints, and it will be forwarded to my office daily and filed and followed up on. We need to hold absentee landlords accountable. It just doesn't fall on the city, and it just doesn't fall on our homeowners. Our absentee landlords need to be held accountable. That's part of the problem. We have to ensure that the community and the councilman's office meets weekly regarding quality of life issues, because they are something that plague the community. And as far as environmental goes, my family has a history of fighting pollution, pollution. For those of us who remember, Chase Chemical, who was actually right here on Chestnut Street, right in this building that we're standing, my father was instrumental on getting Chase Chemical taken off the block. My grandmother actually succumbed to cancer because of Chase Chemical, because it was proven that there was clusters of cancer being distributed in the Ironbound area. All these things have to come into play and have to be addressed, but we need a voice to address them. And I feel that my plan is the way to go.
Thank you, Luís. Foi neste momento, portanto, os 4 candidatos responderam à primeira pergunta em relação à qualidade de vida. Agora, Luís, vamos falar de MX.
MX3, MX3, vamos fazer a pergunta.
Elected officials in the state's largest city have largely supported the implementation of the MX3 residential and commercial zone, which allows in part for buildings as high as 145 feet tall to be constructed on several blocks just east of the Northeast Corridor train tracks in the Ironbound. The city's revitalization plan includes the well-known MX3 in a neighborhood where schools are overcrowded and parking is limited. An increase in residents in an already congested area can bring additional problems. On the other hand, the MX3 can alter the identity of a neighborhood and can drastically change its demographics. Do you agree with the MX3? What can we expect from you as councilman?
A pergunta em português: as autoridades eleitas na maior cidade do Estado apoiaram amplamente a implementação da zona residencial e comercial de uso misto 3, MX3, que permite em parte a construção de prédios de até 145 pés de altura em vários quarteirões a leste da cidade. Está de acordo com o plano de revitalização da cidade, o conhecido MX3 ou MX3, num bairro onde as escolas estão superlotadas, o estacionamento é limitado, o aumento de residentes numa área já de si congestionada pode trazer problemas adicionais. Por outro lado, a identidade de um bairro em relação à sua demografia pode ser drasticamente alterada. Concorda com o MX3? O que podemos esperar de si como vereador?
E vamos passar a palavra a Jonathan Seabra.
Here in the East Ward, when development goes on, we need to have the community inclusive and be at the table whenever the decision-making process is going on. Many times the community is outside of the loop or unaware of proposals that are happening at City Hall in the municipal council chambers. That needs to stop. Development is good as long as it is sustainable for our community. We cannot have the type of development that is going to bankrupt our city. We cannot be offering tax abatements left and right to outside folks who want to come here and make a profit at the cost of the East Ward residents. The East Ward residents are the ones who have lived here for many, many years and have built this beautiful, vibrant community. And now what we are seeing when I knock on doors every day is people that are scared of themselves getting pushed out if taxes are going to go up. Currently, our taxes are at 62%. And one of the main reasons why our taxes are high is because we've given out a lot of abatements in the past years to these mega project developments in our community. And yes, Yes, they were given out, but unfortunately, most of the people were unaware of this problem. With that being said, we have to have development because it creates an economic boom. It creates jobs, but it has to be sustainable. We have to have local developers be able to come to the plate and be involved in the bidding process, because local developers are the ones who have wrote out throughout the years here in our community and are the ones who have sacrificed so much, especially many of the Portuguese developers in our community. You know that here in the East Ward, we are known for our Portuguese restaurants. We are known for a place where everybody wants to come to eat and also to stay.
Your time is up.
Okay, now is your turn, Mr. Campos.
Okay, thank you. I've knocked on thousands of doors, spoken to hundreds of people, and MX3 definitely comes up. Listen, I was born and raised, I never left the Ironbound. I love this place. I'll always protect our character and our culture. Especially, we have to protect those most vulnerable of us, and that's our seniors, those that already live here, those that have built this community, and those that have remained through the good times and bad. That being said, we must ensure that our infrastructure can handle what MX3 brings. And there's a lot to that bill or that requirement that has to be touched up. First and foremost, there's things that should be mandated where the infrastructure is touched or improved as part of the deal before a developer gets to build. The developer has the right to make money, but we have the right to improve our community and take care of our folks first. And that's what has to be done. We have to ensure affordable housing. We cannot push our residents out. We're giving away tax abatements and other incentives. With that being said, what are we getting for it? All right? Everybody's got to eat. I get it. Let the community eat more than the other people. Again, I've said it earlier. My answer to the question, I don't agree with all parts of the MX3, and I believe it can improve. And you know what? I know it will ultimately be modified. It's a living thing, and it's going to have to change to stay as it is. Because at the end of the day, all development's not bad. Smart development is actually a good thing. As long as there's input from the community, they're properly notified first, they're brought to the table as stakeholders, and they get something out of it. They get a value added. Whatever's built adds something to the community. It provides a service to people. It beautifies the area. It makes it better than it was. If that happens, then our quality of life is made better. And as the guardian of the East Ward, I will ensure that happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. We're going to go to Mr. Weber, Louis Weber.
So like anything, there has to be balance. Our ward needs development in order to progress, but without infringing on the characteristics that makes us the East Ward and the Ironbound specifically. In the right areas, it's okay to build vertically because we are so congested. So in the right areas, MX3 will work, but in the right areas, not by pushing our homegrown community out. That's a no-no. Everyone in the community should have a say on what's going on, which is why a board of commissioners developed by the councilman's office, community members, stakeholders, business owners, and developers should meet once a month to be educated and informed on what's going on, especially with projects like MX3, because most people are not well versed in projects like MX3. As councilman, I will request that the planning board change the ordinance so that the community can have a major input on MX3. And this will have to reevaluate the entire plan.
Thank you, Louis.
Now, Stern Michael de Silva, Mrs. Silva.
So development, we need to develop. We need to grow the city. We need to grow the East Ward, but it has to be done smart. It has to be done with the input of the community, and the community has to benefit. I will not, as councilman, sign off on anything with a development or developer if the community has not been engaged by that developer. We need community meetings regarding any type of development in this city. I will not sign off on anything unless that building has ample parking for all the apartments in that building. Right now, being proposed is a building on Jackson Street with 100 apartments and 0 parking. That is not feasible. that we cannot allow that to happen here in the Ironbound. We cannot allow that to happen here in the East Ward. And the most important thing is when a building is built, it can no longer hold the infrastructure, make the infrastructure worse than it is already. We have enough flooding, we have enough issues already with our infrastructure. Again, it must benefit the East Ward.
Thank you, Michael. E estas foram, portanto, as 4 respostas ao segundo tema. Vamos agora para o terceiro tema da noite, o fundo da S, e a pergunta vai ser lida em inglês.
There will be an additional 1.5 million pounds of air pollution a year and 2 million tons of CO2 released from the Hess proposed plant. The city is expected to get more than $20 million in givebacks from Hess, including $5 million for a fund targeting recreation and other projects in the Ironbound to be controlled by the Ironbound councilman. As a councilman responsible for administering the fund, have you already collected information about the available amounts and how do you plan to apply them?
A pergunta em português.
Haverá mais de 1,5 milhão de libras de poluição no ar por ano e 2 milhões de toneladas de CO2 que serão libertadas. A cidade espera receber mais de 20 milhões em doações da S, incluindo 5 milhões para um fundo de recriação e outros projetos no Ironbound a ser administrado pelo vereador do bairro. Como vereador responsável por esse fundo, já se informou sobre os valores ainda disponíveis e como pensa aplicá-los.
And the first question, or the first answer will be Anthony Campos. Anthony, a primeira resposta.
I am dead against the East Ward being used as a dumping ground. Spoke about earlier, corporate pollution, environmental injustice, no good at all. I actually mentioned this during my announcement speech. So the first thing I'm going to do, the most logical thing, is demand an accounting of what's currently available, what has been spent, what it's been spent on, and to ensure that it was used to its fullest purpose of improving our community. Secondly, this must be open. People must be aware. We must involve the community and obtain their input on where the money should be spent. It shouldn't be done at the whim of me or any other councilman. It's to benefit the community. They have a say. Now, as far as the community saying what they have to say, we can be creative. Involve other people, involve children, use them to get their ideas, get contests. Have school children use it as a civics lesson and as something for community engagement. What would they like to see in the community? One of my priorities, again, I'm inferring what I like, is recreation, because I think that's needed. And like I said, all quality of life is interrelated. So there's many things we could do, including funding a recreation director, funding programs. Until it's in the city budget, it can get paid for by this. Many other things in recreation, from fields and everywhere else. No Hayes Park East, no Liberty Park, fine. We need more green spaces. We need more sports fields. That's where the money would go. There are many areas we lost. Hayes Park, I just said, Liberty Park, many things else. Public-private partnerships to add to what we can do with the money, to increase what we can do to the money. Partner with county and the state government. Municipal parking area with shuttles to get rid of congestion and everything else. Again, funds must be used wisely and openly. This is not a slush fund for political gain. Thank you.
Luis Weber, Mr. Weber.
Thank you. So my team has Oprah requested the funds for this and what they've actually been used for. So that'll be coming shortly when we get that information. That being said, I find it interesting that the current sitting councilman actually abstained to vote on this, on the Hess Fund, which I find funny and ridiculous since it affects our ward so harshly. Whatever money is left over in this fund, if any, I feel should be presented to a board of community members from different areas of the East Ward so that that money can be allocated the correct way, the way the community sees fit. And I think that this happens with a voice and it happens with a direct line in order to get our voices heard. We've Oprah requested the information. That'll be coming shortly. I'll get it to Ricky and to Luis. And we'll see what happens after that.
Thank you. We're going to go now to Michael da Silva. Michael?
So to my knowledge, there is money in the Hess Fund. Any money in that fund, should I be elected, will be made public after July 1st. I will make sure that the public, the community, the East Ward, knows how much money is in that fund, how it's going to be spent, allocated throughout the community. But there's a bigger issue here. Our health is not for sale. I'll say it again. Our health is not for sale. I will not sell the health of our community for $1, $5 million, or $10 million. Again, I'm a cancer survivor. I was told by Sloan Kettering in New York City that my cancer came because I lived in Newark, New Jersey. I don't want anybody to ever hear that again. I don't want anybody to ever go through what I went through. There will not be an industrial site burning any chemicals under my watch approved if I am elected councilman.
Thank you,
Thank you
Michael.
very much. Jonathan Seabra, Mr. Seabra.
First and foremost, the biggest question is, why was this plant even approved? How can anyone in their right mind and have a right conscience and have any morals and standards approve such a thing? At that point, you ask yourself, they gave $20-something million to the city of Newark, 5 which went to the East Ward. So at that time, our community was up for sale. When I become your next East Ward councilman, I will never allow our community to be up for sale. Yes, my team and I have also filed an open request with the city of Newark to see exactly how much funding is still left in the HES fund. If there is any money available in that fund, some of the things that I propose that money to be used for, one would be the first rideshare program for our seniors in our community. Something that I have not seen here in the city of Newark yet, but I have seen in Jersey City. For a small fee, a rideshare program will be able to pick up our seniors to go get their medication, bring them to doctor's visit, or wherever they need to go within a certain radius. Another thing that I propose, if there's any money left in that fund, would be to create youth and recreational programs for our young leaders of our community, because I am a big proponent of education and I'm a big proponent of teaching our youth young, while they are young. Also, lastly, I believe that if there is additional funds left in the HES fund to be used to create the first satellite office for the Newark Police Department on Ferry Street. So the Newark Police Department could be more accessible to our community for the people and walking pedestrians of our area. And I just want to put this out there. There is a current proposal with the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission to have a new incinerator in our community. And I ask you, East Ward resident tonight, to stand up and say no to that, because our community is not for sale.
Time is up.
Obrigado, Jonathan, Mr. Seabra. Agora, a próxima pergunta e a quarta pergunta será sobre impostos prediais, property taxes.
Ironbound residents pay the highest percentage of property taxes in the city, estimated at approximately 60%. The biggest complaint is that the neighborhood does not receive expected city services. If elected councilman, what concrete measure do you plan to implement to deal with the increase in property taxes and to ensure the necessary services in the neighborhood?
Os residentes do Ironbound pagam a maior percentagem de impostos prediais na cidade. Calcula-se que aproximadamente cerca de 60% do valor total. A maior queixa centra-se no fato de o bairro não receber os serviços que outros bairros recebem. Se for eleito vereador, que medida concreta procura apresentar para fazer face ao aumento de impostos prediais e assegurar os serviços necessários no bairro?
The first to answer will be Louis Weber. Mr. Weber.
Okay, thank you. So taxes are a touchy subject, right? Nobody wants to bring them higher, right? Everybody wants them lowered or regulated. And any person standing here that tells you they're going to be able to do that with some magic wand, that's just not the way it is. But the facts is that for the first time in a long time, we are actually going to see a small decrease in taxes this year. And that's amazing coming off of the pandemic and certain things that we've been through. From my experience going door to door, people wouldn't mind paying their taxes if they're getting the services that they deserve. Taxes are there so that our garbage gets picked up, our police are around and come to calls timely, our potholes get fixed, and our snow gets removed. So what this comes back to is city services need to be held accountable, and we need a voice to allocate for that, to advocate for that. We need a voice that's going to say, hey, they're not doing their job. We pay the taxes. This is what we need. We need to get it done. And under our leadership, you will get that.
Thank you, Luis. We're
Sure.
going to go now to Michael Silva.
From the beginning of my campaign, I've said we've been treated like second-class citizens. We pay the highest taxes. Just look outside your door, how your streets are so dirty, how your garbage is picked up. They put half the garbage in the truck and half of it falls out and they leave it that way. Look at the potholes. Look how long it takes for the police to respond to a call. This is not acceptable. My job as councilman is to make sure that we get what we pay for, to make sure that we get our fair share of services. Any money that comes into this ward regarding grants or anything else, we should know about. I will be holding City Hall 100% accountable for everything that comes into this ward. Thank you.
Jonathan Seabra, Mr. Seabra.
So this is nothing new. Everyone knows that the East Ward has been paying the highest taxes in the city of Newark since I can remember and since many of people that are watching tonight can remember. But the reality is we don't have our fair share of our services for the East Ward for the 62% that we pay. And why is that? Because our concerns usually fall on deaf ears. For many, many years, I constantly hear I'm tired, my trash wasn't picked up. We have potholes, we have high crime, we have response times from the Newark Police Department that take quite a while to respond to certain calls that are very minuscule. Unfortunately, that is because we don't receive our fair services. Taxes are going up next year. Reevaluations are going to happen. If you think you pay high taxes now, imagine next year when they come and reevaluate your property. The problem is when they reevaluate your property is now going to be assessed astronomically high, not based on if you think you're paying high taxes now, let's just say your property is worth $300,000 and is assessed in the city of Newark at $250,000. Next year your property is going to be assessed at $500,000. Imagine the discrepancy right there. So what that's going to happen is it's going to push people out. And you know who's going to want to come in? Outside investors, people who are want to buy up our community, and we cannot allow that to happen. We have to attract new businesses that are going to pay their fair share of taxes. When new developments want to come into our community, we need to say no to tax abatements, because that is what's causing also taxes to be high in our community. Another thing that we have to do, being myself a finance person, is to audit the books and be able to start cutting costs in our city budget where we can cut them. And I'm going to guarantee you, when I become your next East Ward councilman, that I will make sure that happens.
Thank you, Jonathan. We're going to go now to Anthony Campos. Anthony, you're next.
Okay. All right, unfortunately, the two things you can't avoid, right, are death and taxes. But that being said, at the end of the day, and it's been said many times tonight, nobody would complain if they felt we were receiving our fair share, which we know we're not. Let's move on. That's not even important. But you have to have an understanding of taxes. You've had to deal with budgets. You had to deal with all this. At the end of the day, taxes are set to cover the budgetary requirements of a municipality and what it needs for its operating costs. That being said, if we were able to increase efficiency and effectiveness, which we are, if we hold people accountable to do their jobs better and to the extent where everything gets done as it should everywhere else, then what happens? Their service costs get lowered. If their service costs get lowered, then the budget gets lowered. Then following that, then in theory, taxes could be reduced. Let's look at a business. A business makes a profit how? One, by charging more and bringing in more money, and when they can't do that, they lower their operating costs. Either way, they're making more money if they do the right thing. So us enhancing effectiveness and efficiency of city services, reducing their cost, reducing the budget, reduces taxes. But how do we do that? How do we stay on top of the people? Well, I have the experience. You implement something like CityStat, which was derived from ComStat, which came from the police department, which I, as a young sergeant, helped start, and which I, as the chief and director, ran. At the end of the day, you also look at best business practices. What are other people doing? Implement it here. Assess the airport, the seaport, the transit rail hub at Penn Station. Let's make sure that we are receiving our fair share of revenue from them. Let's not leave money on the table. Again, I have the experience of running a complex agency, meeting goals and objectives, getting things done. The only one here who knows administration, management, and budget. I did all this. Thank you very much.
Muito bem. Eu gostava de saber como é que as pessoas estão a ver em casa, através do Facebook, e a fazer os seus comentários sobre a prestação destes 4 candidatos, excelentes candidatos, a vereadores do bairro Leste.
Eu devo dizer, Luís, que está a ser um grande prazer, porque, afinal de contas, notamos que estamos perante 4 pessoas que estão extremamente interessados em que o nosso bairro, o sítio a qual chamamos casa, possa andar para a frente e possamos também enfrentar os desafios do futuro. Pelos comentários, Luís, desculpa lá, para responder à tua pergunta, as pessoas estão a gostar. Algumas fazem complaints que não entendem muito bem porque é que estamos a fazer em inglês. Devo dizer que são eleições municipais, estamos nos Estados Unidos e é sempre um prazer podermos levar até si toda a informação que você precisa.
E depois é importante saber que estes senhores, se um deles for eleito, e vai ser obviamente eleito, quando for para lá vai ter que falar inglês, não é verdade?
É claro, tem que
não
falar
pode
inglês,
português.
mas há uma coisa pelo qual todos nós nos temos que orgulhar muito, é que estamos aqui num quarto com 9 pessoas, porque estão 3 pessoas a quem eu quero desde já dizer muito obrigado, que são os nossos operadores de câmara, que estão a fazer um trabalho excepcional. Peço desculpa também por aquele pequeno pormenor ao princípio, mas estávamos todos nervosos, principalmente eu. Mas devo dizer que é um prazer, é um orgulho numa cidade nos Estados Unidos termos 9 pessoas, todos eles são descendentes de portugueses, todos eles, eu tenho a certeza, sentem Portugal tanto quanto sentem os Estados Unidos.
Exatamente. E agora, como vocês em casa veem nas televisões americanas, costuma dizer-se "We'll be back after these messages", right?
Yeah. Voltamos já depois do intervalo.
Costa del Sol, o local perfeito para momentos inesquecíveis. Reserve para os mais diversos eventos, casamentos, batizados, festas sociais. Um espaço repousante e tranquilo. Amplo parque de estacionamento. Profissionalismo e experiência ao serviço dos nossos clientes mais exigentes. Costa del Sol.
Água alcalina Monchique, uma das águas que melhor fazem à saúde dos portugueses. Beba água Monchique, a nossa água.
E seja muito bem-vindo à segunda parte deste especial Eleições que estamos a fazer em direto dos estúdios em Newark da SBT. O tema que se segue tem a ver com parking, handicapped spaces. É um tema sempre atual.
Parking in Newark and in the Ironbound is often a real adventure. On other streets, handicap plate numbers occupy practically the entire street. As an elected councilman, what plan do you have for the parking problem? About handicap spaces, would you propose any specific measures to eliminate potential irregularities?
Estacionar em Newark e no Ironbound é muitas vezes, eu diria que uma autêntica aventura. Em algumas ruas, os números de placas de handicap ocupam praticamente toda a rua, são mais do que as casas. Como vereador eleito, que plano tem para a problemática do estacionamento? Em relação ao espaço de handicap, vai propor alguma medida específica para eliminar potenciais irregularidades?
E a pergunta que vamos fazer, the question is for Michael da Silva. Mr. Silva.
So everybody knows that parking is a big issue in the East Ward. The problem we have, when I was younger, it was 1 car per family. Today we have multiple cars per family. We have 2, 3 family homes being built everywhere. We have development everywhere. One thing that I'm not going to do, and I said before, I will not sign off on anything unless each building that's built, each home that's built has the necessary parking. We don't need to add to another parking problem. I see my neighbors driving around the block 3-4 times looking for a parking space. I don't think that's necessary. Another thing I'm going to do as councilman, I'm going to look into other major cities, Jersey City, Hoboken, to see how they do it. When you park their vehicle, all you have to do is walk 2-3 blocks to a restaurant, or you could residential parking. They make it cheap and affordable so residents can park in these multi-level parking garages. As far as handicap parking goes, I'm going to do an annual audit every year of all the handicap parking spots. What my little city hall is going to provide, it's going to provide you a service where you can go and make the process easier, and we can control the handicap parking that exists in the community. As councilman, my office will have a better idea of how many parking spots, how many handicap parking spots are in the community. Also, we need to hold people accountable. We need to have some honesty. I know there's handicap parking spots out there where unfortunately the mother or the father or the grandparents have passed away. Those residents need to come forward and give that handicap parking to someone who needs it in our community.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to reset the clock, and Mr. Jonathan Seabra. Should I call you Mr. Seabra or Mr. Jonathan Seabra?
Whatever you like. Whatever you like.
Let's go, Jonathan.
So first, I'd just like to set the record straight. There is more than one candidate who knows how to run budgets and administration and also knows how to run a business, and that is myself, because I am a businessman of the community. In terms of parking spaces, we are the only large city in the state of New Jersey, to my recollection, that does not have a municipal parking lot. You go anywhere else, Elizabeth, Hoboken, Jersey City, Union City, North Bergen, and everywhere you have municipal parking lots for a small fee to park every day. Why is it that we never spearheaded this project? We don't have enough parking decks in our community. Another thing is that we don't have permit parking on certain streets. There are many streets that are extremely congested, especially along the Penn Station area. One of the biggest issues now that's going to happen there is with the MX3. That huge building that is being built there didn't have enough parking when it was approved. So if they didn't have enough parking when it was approved, there sure is not going to have any parking at all in the streets, because the residents that are going to move in there are usually going to have 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, depending how many people live per unit. When it comes to handicap parking spaces, we have to reevaluate it every single year. Yes, there are many people here in the community who truly do have a disability and need handicap parking. I know many of them. But there are people who have spoken to me when I knock door to door who tell me that there's many handicap parking spaces of folks who have passed away, unfortunately, and people who have abused the system by just getting a doctor's note, and they don't check up on that. So we need to evaluate it. We have to have an audit in place, because it is not fair that people have to circle the blocks constantly, especially when they come from work, when you just want to come home and relax.
Thank you,
Muito
Jonathan.
bem. Agora, Anthony Campos, Mr. Campos.
Thank you. Again, no secret that we have an overburdened infrastructure, and the East Ward is victim to poor urban planning. We know that. We addressed it earlier. First and foremost, this was used against me in my last election when I recommended reassessing handicap parking spaces. But hey, we'll do it again. First thing that has to occur with any problem, a full evaluation, a reassessment of all assigned handicap parking spaces in the East Ward. There was over 4,000 citywide as of 2020, and this was never done citywide, nor was it done in the East Ward. 2, rules must be followed. It's a lot more complicated than just getting a doctor's note on what someone can and can't do. Also, for the people that need it, we should make it easier and less expensive for them. Best practices. Jersey City actually provides their own doctor that they pay for that will assess the application for you, so you're not burdening the person with going to their own doctor. Also, we need to require this proof, and we have to assess annually, not just once to get the damn thing, but regularly have to assess how things are being done. We have to remove it from people that don't need it. Sad to say, handicapped parking space is not something that should be handed over generation to generation. If you need it, fine. If you don't, you lose it. Free up spaces on our streets for everyone else. There are other things that we'll do to take action, obviously, to address the lack of parking, because parking is interrelated with traffic congestion. Full traffic study, as I've said many times. Let's find out the magnitude of the problem, what can be done to address it, and then let's address it. Let's look at changes in traffic flow patterns. Let's talk to New Jersey Transit. Let's do something with the bus parking, maybe free up some particular spaces. Let's look at municipal parking garages. Have developers help pay for them when they're building their buildings. And of course, let's look at what everyone else is doing. We can solve this, but we have to start now. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to Mr. Luis Weber. Should I call you, because I asked Jonathan to, should I call you Mr. Weber or just Louis?
Mr. Weber's my father, I'm Louis.
You got it. Louis, go ahead.
So I agree with every other candidate here. There needs to be a yearly audit on the handicap spots, and our elderly community does need handicap parking, but it should be audited yearly to keep that in sync. Part of the problem with our parking situation is, commercial vehicles need to be, it needs to be enforced. Commercial vehicles parking illegally overnight in our community, taxis specifically parking overnight in our community, they take up a lot of spots in residential areas, and this needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed by our police department, and I will ensure that. As councilman, I will attempt to work with business owners to come to an agreement where during off hours they actually allow the community to park in their parking lots from maybe 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. while their businesses are closed to alleviate some of the parking problems in our ward. And yes, developers need to provide adequate parking not only for their developments that are going up, but I also feel strongly that they should put aside certain spots for residents in the surrounding area. All of this combined is what we have to look forward to as I'm sitting in the East Ward Council seat.
Thank you, Luis.
E agora temos mais uma pergunta, Herói.
Sim, é claro, e chegamos a um ponto onde fizemos 5 perguntas aos nossos caros candidatos a vereador e chegamos a este ponto do debate com um dos residentes, neste caso não é residente, é um business owner que resolveu fazer uma pergunta aos 4 candidatos. Eu espero que o som está preparado.
E depois responde um de cada vez, não é?
Depois responde um de cada vez e o próximo a responder, eu acredito que o primeiro vai ser o Jonathan, mas Jonathan, vamos primeiro ouvir qual é a pergunta. Vamos lá então ver se entendemos o que é que o nosso querido amigo Joe Amorim perguntou aos 4 amigos que tem aqui.
All right, my question is basically a quality of life question. 2 issues that are important to me and my neighbors here close to the Penn Station. Number 1 being parking. Basically, the only laws that are on the books that are being enforced presently that I can tell are overtime meters and anything that's being productive for the Newark Parking Authority, like crosswalks and stop signs. Anything that really helps residents and businesses, such as permit parking and the 4-hour rule. I don't see any of that being enforced. So, a lot's been said about private-public partnerships. A lot of, I don't see too much being done for the public as far as this is concerned. All right, my second question is about crime and public safety. Obviously, crime has increased all over Newark. Specifically here in the Ironbound, I see the homeless situation getting worse. So I know it's been addressed by you guys, but what are your specific plans as far as getting homeless off the streets, working, getting programs, initiatives, working with other public agencies? I know New Jersey Transit has a program helping to get them homeless off the street. What are your plans, your specific plans to improve the crime and homelessness? Thank you.
Pergunta pertinente.
É uma pergunta pertinente e para vocês aí em casa, portanto, entenderem, o Joe Amorim, que é um business owner ali bem perto da Ferry Street, falou em estacionamento para negócios da Ferry, negócios locais. Falou também da problemática do sem-abrigo no Parque Peter Francisco e pergunta por detalhes, nomeadamente possíveis parcerias com parques de estacionamento, possíveis parcerias com outras entidades. Portanto, é uma pergunta pertinente, que acabou por ser duas perguntas. Estás
Duas
de acordo?
para o preço de uma.
Duas para o preço de uma, mas nós não temos muito tempo. Vamos então ao Jonathan Seara.
Vamos lá.
Well, first, parking. We know this is an issue, especially on Ferry Street. It's a very congested area, and there's really no place to park. We have to possibly reduce the 4-hour parking limit for permit parking to 2 hours, so it can give an ample opportunity to other folks to be able to park there. We also have near Ferry Street, if I'm not mistaken, on Madison Avenue, a open parking lot. Maybe the city of Newark can build a relationship with the owner of that property where we could create the first municipal parking lot and offer that to the city, because I think that would be great for the residents, especially the folks on Ferry Street who are business owners, including Mr. Amorim, who is of Ironbound or Ferry Barbershop, if I'm not mistaken, Ferry Barbershop. When it comes to crime, that is the major topic. Public safety is the major topic that people keep talking about here in the East Ward. Yes, I am not a police officer. I was never a police officer, but I live public safety day in and day out. My car was just recently broken into on my block. Crime has spiked. The SPT reported this year that here in the East Ward, crime was at 57% higher than it was the year before, and that is completely unacceptable. Yes, we have to bring more police officers. Yes, the response times need to be higher. Yes, we need to hold the people accountable. Yes, we have to get more grants so we could be funding the Newark Police Department more effective and efficient. Homelessness. Homelessness is a major problem near Penn Station, and we need to accept the fact that people that are homeless are also human beings. You have to touch their hearts. You have to start a conversation with them, because no one wants to be ridiculed or subjected to that type of, how should I say this, Facebook post, Snapchat post of helping them. Start a conversation. Newark already created Hope Village, which is offering room and board for the homeless of Newark. We have to start building a connection with other organizations to be able to offer services to the homeless, job training.
Obrigado, Jonathan.
Bem, eu agora vou perguntar ao nosso querido amigo aqui do meu lado esquerdo, should be Anthony or Mr. Campos? You tell
Call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner. All right?
Anthony, go ahead.
All right. In the order in which Joe asked, Joe's Barbershop. All right, parking, obviously parking is an issue around Penn Station and everywhere else. And what should we do? Well, I just answered that question. There's a bunch of things we could do, Joe. As far as the enforcement end of it, yes. But remember, all quality life issues are interrelated. You mentioned crime, you mentioned homeless. Well, if we had the police properly deployed, if we had them visible and we had them more active, then that would address some of what you're asking, more of the enforcement piece. Also, our partnership with the Newark Parking Authority, and also us actually making more parking available. I went into that earlier. Everything from looking at changing the traffic flow pattern on Ferry, developing an off-site parking lot and shuttle the people in to the business corridor, to working with developers to actually build a municipal garage, et cetera, et cetera. There's stuff that can be done, best practice, it's not a difficult thing to do. You mentioned homeless, absolutely. First and foremost, let's not label them, it dehumanizes people when you label them. But at the end of the day, people need help. There are people that have mental health issues. We address it. We address it as we've been doing it as a city, but we bring in outside resources. We bring in the county, we bring in the state. There is an entity that negated all homelessness in a northern New Jersey county. So it exists. One-on-one, I'll explain everything to you and what I'll do come July 1st. In addition, you do have homeless people that do break the law. You have those that need help. You have those that break the law. They get dealt with like everybody else. You break the law, you pay the price. That goes into crime. Like I said, many things that can be done, but you got to know how to deploy the people. You got to bring in more cops. Yeah, it's important to put the cops where you need them, cops on a dot. It's not the number of cops. Anybody will tell you deployment is always more important than numbers. I know because I've done it my whole career, and I will continue to do it. Joe, one-on-one, I'll meet you at the barbershop. I'll go into detail. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you,
Anthony. Mr. Weber, do you have an answer for Mr. Amorim?
Yes, thank you. So I think all candidates went into parking at length in the last question, but there needs to be accountability, right, with the parking specifically. And Ferry Street is extremely congested parking-wise. One of the ideas that I have is that the new Mulberry Commons that's being built, where a bridge is going to go from Mulberry Commons onto Ferry Street, there should be a municipal lot right there so that people can park there and walk directly over Penn Station to our dining and our business district in order to walk freely. As far as our persons without addresses go, we have to realize that it's a national issue. It's not just here in the city of Newark. It's a national issue. Right now, currently, we have Hope One, which is a bus that comes into the communities and does free health screenings, mental and physical health, because mental health is a real thing. We have Hope Village, right, or Container Village, which was astronomical in aiding many persons without addresses. We have WOW, the WOW bus, Work on Wheels, which is a bus that goes into our community and you can get hired and get a source of revenue on the spot with a job application on the bus. And we have to work in partnership with New Jersey Transit, Port Authority, and the Newark Police Department. We should marry a Newark police officer with a New Jersey Transit police officer or a Port Authority police officer and educate them, because it does a few things, right? It causes more visibility, more police presence. That's number one, right? And number two, it allows our police to be educated and seem human, because we are human as police officers. We understand that this is a new age of policing. We understand all that. And this is everything that's going to be done under our leadership.
Thank you, Louis. Now, should I call you Mr. Silva? I'm going to call you Mike. Do you agree? That's good. Let's go, Mike.
So, Joe, you're in a very unique position. You have an organization called the IBID, the Ironbound Business Improvement District. I'm going to take a bigger role in that district. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the IBID sit down with the parking lots near Penn Station, and you let the customers from Ferry Street park there, either for free or for a minimal fee, whenever they're going to go to your barbershop or to a restaurant or shopping. There once was a trolley, and we could commute people back and forth. They bring their receipt back to the parking lot attendant, and you either park there for free or it's a minimal fee, and the person can spend the entire day patronizing the Ironbound. As far as homelessness goes, this is something, Joe, you and I have dealt with for years. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that Transit and Newark Police are both on the same page. We need to understand that being homeless is not against the law. We need to understand that everyone deserves a meal. But there's a problem inside Peter Francisco Park. I never thought it was the proper venue to feed people. You have people coming from other towns feeding the people, and then all the garbage is left for the IBID to clean up and the city of Newark, and that goes back to us taxpayers. We're paying for the cleanup. I believe that the feeding needs a proper venue, an enclosed venue, somewhere where it's controllable. In the end, the Newark Health Department needs to take a bigger role. We want to make sure that the people without addresses are being taken care of.
Thank you, Michael. Luís, parece que ainda temos 2 minutinhos e meio.
Não, ainda temos mais 1 hora para a semana, não é?
Sim, portanto, caros amigos em casa, caros telespectadores, foi a primeira parte de 2 debates, onde passámos em revista situações que são do máximo interesse para o bairro, a que todos nós orgulhosamente chamamos como nosso. No próximo dia 4, Luís, 2 a 8 dias, a festa continua.
Claro que aqui estaremos, meus caros amigos. Quanto a nós, vamos voltar a ver-nos amanhã às 7 para o Especial Informação. O Ricky estará mais cedo às 6h30 para o seu habitual Manhãs do Ricky.
É claro que sim.
E, portanto, apenas em nome de toda a produção, a realização e nós que apresentamos, e todos os candidatos, agradecemos ao Luís Weber, ao Anthony Campos, também ao Jonathan Seabra e ao Michael da Silva a sua presença. Para si, aí em casa, tenham uma noite descansada. Até amanhã, se Deus quiser.
Até amanhã.
Este programa teve o patrocínio de Seabra Foods.